All right, thanks for joining us today. We are going to take a quick look at Lady Phoenix. She is MP20-006. So she is prize support for the WKO ROC. Let's take a quick look at this pretty cool and powerful figure. Okay, she is coming in with the Asgardian Avengers, Phoenix Force, Cosmic, and Past keywords. Her real name is unknown. She has 3 traits and 1 special attack power. First trait is free. If Lady Phoenix is adjacent to a friendly character named Odin, heal both characters 1 click. Her second trait is opposing characters within 3 squares can't use willpower. And the third trait is when another friendly character named Phoenix, Dark Phoenix, or Jean Grey hits, after resolutions, remove an action token from this character. Her special attack power comes in mid-dial if you play her at full points, and on click 2 if you play her at the lower points, and it's Pulse Wave. When Lady Phoenix uses it to target more than 1 character, she deals her printed damage instead. She has improved targeting, block in terrain, and destroys block in terrain. So that one you can destroy 1 piece of block in terrain as you draw a line of fire through it. After resolutions of the attack, of course. We're going to take a look at her dial and a couple of the characters that you can team her up with, but some cool things to note here. At her point values, you're going to be able to team build around her. So there is a couple choices if you want to go the route of teaming her up with an Odin. You could also team her up with some Phoenix Force characters. Of course, Avengers has a ton of things you can build with if you're going theme team. So you have options at each one of those named keywords that you can build with. You could also go with the Retaliators, Dark Phoenix and Phoenix. There's 2 Retaliators that are modern. So you have low pointed characters there that have, I think they both have an 11 attack on their Retal click, which means they have a good chance of hitting in order to take a token off of Lady Phoenix. Lady Phoenix is going to be hitting hard, so if you get a couple of those Retaliators to hit, pull tokens off of Lady Phoenix and allow her to attack possibly 3, 4, or 5 turns in a row, that could be enough to take care of the main pieces of your opponent's team. All right, let's take a quick look at her dial. Another thing is, keep in mind she does shut off opposing willpower, which will come up in one of the builds that we can look at. And that has to be within 3 squares. Now, you'll remember on willpower, the character takes push and damage. Willpower allows it that the push and damage can be reduced to 0. The way push and damage works is you get that when you get a second action token. And action tokens are given at the resolutions of actions when everything has resolved. So if somebody charges in to hit up close, or they run in within 3 squares, it's when that action resolves. So even though they might have initiated their action outside of 3 squares, they don't get that token until the action ends. So if they're getting a token within 3 squares, they can't use willpower, which means they would take that push in damage if it's a second token. Now looking at her dial, she has 2 point values. She can start at 175 points or 125 points. She has the Power Cosmic Team ability, 8 range dual target. She flies. If you play her at her top point value, that's where I would play her. The 50 points for those additional 2 clicks, which are very solid clicks, I think is worth it, unless you really have to fit her on to some other build at 125. For 175, you're getting 8 clicks of life, starting with Running Shot, Penetrating Psychic Blast, Invincible, and Outwit. She's starting with a 12 movement, which means she has a reach of 14. She can move 6 and then shoot 8. 2 targets if they're available with penetrating. So you could split that 5 damage if you have nothing else going on to increase that. But with 175, you could be increasing some of these values with the build around her. And that would be penetrating damage, which is great. And she has outwit on top of it. So you can run and shot in if you're very far away from your opponent, run and shot in, hit them hard, and then outwit whatever might be on their dial that would allow them to move and attack you, or whatever might be there that would be beneficial to outwit so your rest of your team can do a follow-up attack. If you play her at her lower point value, she's coming in with 6 clicks of life. Again, starting with run and shot, pen psi. This time she would have invincible, or not invincible, she would have invulnerability and probability control. So a little bit of a downgrade. She's starting with a 10 movement, which means you could run 5 and then shoot for 8. So just slightly less reach. 11 attack is still decent. The 18 with the reducer is okay, but it's not invincible. The 4 damage is solid, and prob is very good, especially on the follow-up attacks. An 11 is a pretty strong attack, so you might not need it, but you would have a good roll out there to get your opponent to re-roll their attack if they're trying to counter-attack you. Okay, if she gets hit though onto those middle clicks, that's where she's going to have a sidestep with the special pulse wave. That pulse wave, multi-targeted, would be doing 4 damage on clicks 4 and 5, and 3 damage on click 6 to everybody that gets hit with that pulse wave. Click 4 is with a 12 attack for 4 damage to everybody within the 4 squares that pulse wave would be. Again, if you don't do anything to modify those values. So that's very solid, and for either point value, that's a lot of damage output that you'll have. She ends with some regen, so if you don't do anything else to allow her some abilities to heal, which there's things you can equip to her to allow her to heal, plus her Odin trait gives you some healing. But if you end up on those last 2 clicks, she can also regen back up. So really solid. Okay, let's look at a couple Odins that you can use with her, and then we'll talk about that. In modern, this is the only Odin that's out there that can be teamed up, and you'd have to play this Odin at the lower point value of his 2 values. So this one's from Battle World, and it is number 66, which is a chase out of that set. This Odin has a couple cool things going for him, though. He has a trait where adjacent opposing characters can't be healed, can't use protected outwit, and can't use stop clicks. In addition to that, this Odin has outwit on his top click. Lady Phoenix at 175 has outwit also. So you can use this Odin to shut off the protected outwit from things like Power Cosmic, and then you can outwit some of their abilities so that your damage goes through. Or whatever your situation calls for. The other thing is can't use stop clicks. That's fantastic. In competitive, in modern competitive, there's a lot of figures that have stop clicks throughout their dial. So even though you're hitting them for 5, they're going to be getting a stop click on number 2 or number 3. So it makes it real difficult, even if you're a hard hitter, to get through that dial if you have to deal with multiple stop clicks. So you can get Odin in there, put him adjacent to one of those figures, and then hit for that 5 to go straight through that stop click, which will be great. And then, of course, the stop clicks that are at the end of the dial, which is kind of the more common way to do it, that is a way to just push right past there. What's cool is that Lady Phoenix flies. Odin is a non-flyer, so she can carry around Odin. And with her far movement, she might be able to get in there and just run and shot, place him right next to the figure, and then take advantage of what Odin brings with him. If Odin does get hit, he has some prob there, and then he has regen at the end of his dial. So not only will they be able to heal each other 1 click for free, they'll be able to, they both have some regen end dial, so they can have a couple chances to stay on the board longer. So I like this one for a competitive build, although it doesn't leave you much for points after. So you'll have 5 points left on a standard 300 build. So you could do something like a Mandarin ring on one of them, depending on how you want to approach the strategy, or you could do something like a map bonus. So you do have a couple things you could throw on there with 5 points. This is the Odin that I really like on the team with Lady Phoenix. Now, it's not modern, so this is from Thor Ragnarok movie set. This Odin is, I think, is a fantastic pair up. Again, you can carry him around, but what he has is sidestep. Lady Phoenix is normal size. Odin is also normal size. So you can run and shot carrying Odin, drop him next to you, make your shot. Odin can sidestep up to block out some lines of fire. And then he has Mastermind, so he can, if your opponent doesn't go for that attack, he can Mastermind it onto Lady Phoenix. And he has Leadership, so he can be taking tokens off of Lady Phoenix as you go. So you hit a couple of those leaderships, Lady Phoenix can keep attacking with that high damage value. So I really like this one, but what he also does is just crazy on this Lady Phoenix is he has a trait which is each time a friendly character within the Asgardian keyword hits an opposing character, immediately give them an Odin's favor token. Friendly characters with one or more of these tokens modify attack +1. So Lady Phoenix doesn't drop below an 11, so she should be hitting people. That 12 and 11 attack can easily become 15s and 14s, which is just great. And they'll be able to heal each other, and the regen on the end of Lady Phoenix's dial means that you'll be getting lots of 14 and 15 attacks out there for high damage output, which is just great. All right. And this one, since it's not modern, you could use it though competitively on like a Majestic series. They do Majestic's Age as their format, which means you can pair this up with some resources or relics or all kinds of other things you can put on there. So with that 25 points, you're looking at another 100 points of build of all kind of options you can put out there. My initial thought would be I would put it with something like an Indigo Battery, which limits the attacks that your opponent has to be within 5 to attack you. So you can play around with that range with Lady Phoenix's shutting off willpower within 3. So if your opponent does move in there to get you, you can be shutting off their willpower, and they have to be closing the range in order to attack you once you put construct on these figures. And that's just off the top of my head. There's all kinds of other builds you can do with them. Let me know in the comments below how you would build around this. I think it's a solid core. Now, unfortunately, Lady Phoenix is a high value if you want to try to buy it, or it is only out there as the main prizes of prize support. So there's not going to be high availability of this figure, but if you're lucky enough to get one, there are some super cool builds you can do with it, I think. All right, let me know what you think down below, and thanks for watching today. Check it out. If you dig what we do, go ahead and like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.